Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the July 20th, 2026 regular board meeting of Tampa Bay Water. This meeting was noticed in the Florida Administrative Register and on the Tampa Bay Water website. The meeting is available for viewing through live stream, and a recording of the meeting will be posted on the agency's website. Today, we are going to begin using a new feature that allows board members to request to speak and to make motions and seconds using their tablets rather than speaking out. We expect the change to improve accuracy and clarity, as it will be difficult sometimes to hear across the dais. So board members, as we move through the meeting, please use your tablets for these functions. We appreciate everyone's patience. I'm sure it's going to take a little bit to get adjusted to, but I believe that you will see the ability to make the motion come up when the time is right. Okay? And with that being said, our vice chair is out today, and so Commissioner Cohen was going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Cohen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk, you please read the names of the board members to determine if there is a quorum.
Commissioner Cohen.
Here.
Mayor Davis.
Here.
Commissioner Eggers.
Here.
Councilman Miranda.
Here.
Commissioner Oakley.
Here.
Commissioner Peters. Commissioner Wustel.
Here.
Vice Chair Waitman. Chair Hanowitz.
Here.
Madam, a quorum is present.
Thank you so much, Clerk. Okay, now we open up our regular meeting. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. We're requesting to defer agenda item C1. This is the eminent domain settlement with Fishhawk Ranch CDD 4 for the South Hillsborough Pipeline Project. While the primary terms of the settlement, the amount is not affected at all, we did receive word late yesterday that several of the conditions for these easements have been modified in the final settlement, and they're different from what was presented in the agenda packet. So we intend to bring this back at a upcoming meeting, but we're going to defer it for today, so you have the accurate information in front of you.
Okay, well, thank you. This moment, we move on to public comment. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. I have a card for David Geddes, Jr.
Hi, good morning. David Ballard Geddes Jr. I live on Georgia Avenue in Palm Harbor. Let's say, for instance, that I went door to door in every neighborhood in the county and I deceived all the residents into signing the reclaimed water variance application, which in effect grants me development rights throughout the residents' entire parcel of property. It permits me the right to replumb the residential homes with reclaimed water for laundry and toilet use. The variance quarters the consent of the homeowner into forfeiting their Third Amendment rights, allowing me the right to enter the homeowner's property day or night, as based on Pinellas County Resolution 95-286, Section 3K, and to levy an annual indoor water inspection charge against the residents for water use privileges as written in Chapter 1, Section 13 of Maloney's Water Code, published in 1972. The variance affirms my reasoning to take hold of civilian Fourth Amendment rights in my doing of things in Statute 15320 and allows my seizure of civilian-owned property claiming eminent domain of the residents, taking all their personal and real property in Statute 15303, Section 5, tapping title to the residential homes in Pinellas County Ordinance 97-103, Section 126-509, taking hold of their religion too, as based on the variance in my development rights, as I have contrived and as I have invoked. And let's say I want to take these reclaimed water variance and the development rights that go along with it and sell it to a third-party developer, transferring such development rights to a third party in order to limit my liability. And the legislation and the judges were all in on the scam, using third-party mercenaries as written in the Declaration of Independence, using Bashawas as written in Federalist Paper 30. And now you have created a holy war based on the 14th Amendment, and attorneys like Joe Morrissey over there, he lit the fuse.
Well, thank you. We get to consent agenda. Is there anyone that wants to pull something from consent? I see no hands.
Move consent.
Second.
Clerk, you want to try let's try the machine. So there's a motion button. Commissioner Cohen, if you could press them. Oh, we have the mover, Joshua Washtel.
Oh, I see. I'll second that. Oh,
There you go. And it makes it much easier for the clerk.
oh, so we just push the button to make
Yeah,
motions?
yeah, you can make the motion, and that way the clerk has the name and doesn't have to figure out who said it. So we have a motion and a second. The machine is open for voting. Board members, please enter your votes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Okay. Now we move to the general agenda, and our general manager is going to provide us with his report. B1.
Well, good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. Before I get started on my report, I just wanted to take a moment to recognize the passing of former Senator Jack Latvala. As you know, he was very instrumental in the creation of Tampa Bay Water and helped pass the enabling legislation that created us. His role was featured in our documentary, Lightning in a Bottle, that can be found on our website for any of you wanting to see more about his impact on the water supply authority here. The statewide drought continues as the summer rains have not been consistent in our area as of yet. We were off to a good start Friday and didn't get as much as I was hoping for over the weekend, but we're showing some signs, and we'll have Warren approach the podium. He'll go into some more of the details. We are still in the Phase 3 water restriction from the Water Management District through October 1st. Warren.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Just a few slides to give you a current snapshot of where we are for our water supplies. I'll start with rainfall, or the lack of it. Our drought has not been very long, but it's been very severe. We started in September of last year when we received only about 2 inches instead of the 7 or 8 that we normally expect. So since then, we had an average December rainfall, and fortunately we got a pretty good bump in the month of May, but otherwise we've had very little for our region. The month of June averaged just over 3 inches instead of the normal 8. And as a result of this, primarily we see water use go up, but we also see diminished river flow, which especially in the summer is our predominant source type, and it's how we refill our reservoir every year. The flow in the Hillsborough River this July is the 4th lowest that we've seen in the last 50 years. So that kind of punctuates the severity of the drought situation that we're in and how important it is for us to continue with enforcement of those restrictions. For our region, we delivered an average of 207.9 million gallons a day so far for the water year. It's about 8 MGD, or 4% more water than we delivered for the same period last year. And for the month of June, our regional water delivery was about 6.2 million gallons a day, higher than we had planned. But we're still balancing our sources to make sure we meet demands 24/7. As we look for regular rains to begin, unfortunately we have a tropical system on our doorstep and it's going to go away from us. So we did get some beneficial rains, as Mr. Cardin mentioned, started Friday. We did get good flow in the Alafaya River based on that Friday night rainfall. Happy to report a little good news. Today is the first day that we will put meaningful water into the reservoir. The last time we did that was mid-October of 2025. And at that point, we were close to 15 billion gallons. We will harvest about 47 million gallons a day from the Alafaya River today, and that's 30 for the region, actual use, and another 17 that we'll be able to send back to the reservoir. If we can get into our summer rainy pattern, we will be able to harvest water off the Alafaya, now at 19% of flow instead of 10, and we'll be able to harvest from the Tampa Bypass Canal for the region. For the Alafaya, I mentioned the 19% of flow. We increased our permit 1 year ago. We went up to 19% of flow and a maximum of 75 million a day. Just that one change in percentage and the amount we can capture has resulted in about 2.5 billion gallons of additional water. So it has been a substantial change for us. We just need it to flow. From the back, can I get some help changing slides, please? There we go. The consolidated water use permit running average was 103.27 million gallons a day at the end of June. And with the high demands and the constrained supplies that we've had so far for July, that's likely to increase. We are averaging presently about 120 million gallons per day from these well fields, which if we stay at that rate, it would bring the running average up slightly, perhaps to 105, 106. Hopefully we get rains that make the rivers flow, and at that point we can begin reducing our take from the well fields. Probably the most critical thing for us to do, since it's already midsummer, is to refill the regional reservoir. Once the rivers flow like they should in the summertime, we can harvest and store about 1 billion gallons a week in the reservoir. We just need that sustained rainfall and sustained flow. The South Central Hillsborough Regional well field running average was 26.3 million gallons a day at the end of June. It's about 500,000 gallons a day below its permit limit. And speaking of the reservoir, once we got into the drought, we were already in it in September, so as we began planning for the rest of the year that we're currently in, we did forecast to be at a very low level, about 2.1 billion gallons for the months of June and July, which is where we find ourselves now. We're currently at 2.12 billion, which is about 13.5% of our full storage capacity. With that, I'd be happy to answer questions of me, or I'll turn it back over to Mr. Cardin.
I don't see any questions or comments. Yes? Commissioner Eggers, you did it right.
I tried to punch
Yes,
that button.
I
and
see it
if
there.
worked. Talk to me a little bit about our desal plant. How's that doing?
The desal plant is up and running. Yesterday it delivered 12.8 million gallons a day for the region. We did have a little bit of an outage last week as TECO was doing some planned maintenance that happened a little faster than expected, but I believe the facility was offline for less than 1 week. So it is back up and running now.
And they're aware of the impact that their downtime creates.
Yes, we have regular communication with them. They understand the criticality of that facility for us and their impact on us when they're down. There are times when they have to be down for maintenance or planned construction work, but they have worked with us in the past year to minimize the outages and time them as best we can so that there's a minimal impact on our system.
Commissioner Cohen.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to the reservoir for a minute. You mentioned that you thought we would shortly be able to start harvesting water again for the reservoir. Is there enough rain coming down now that's the case?
Today, we'll be able to harvest enough to continue to send 30 million a day to our surface water plant and store 17 in the reservoir. That's purely from the Alafaya River, and the flow has already crested. If we don't get sustained rain, and this is really from Lithia into Polk County is the catchment area that we need. If we don't get the rains by later this week in that area to sustain the flow, we'll be back to no water stored in the reservoir. It's really the area from Lithia into Polk County for the Alafaya River is where we need that rain, and the new Tampa to Zephyr Hills area to refill the Hillsborough River Basin.
When do you need to start filling the reservoir in order to be comfortable that you're going to be up at 15 billion gallons by the end of the rainy season?
If we get the sustained rainfall and flows, we should be full or relatively close to full by the time those flows diminish. If we get good summer rains, the rivers will flow well into October, so we can continue to harvest. We may not hit 15 right at the end of the fiscal year, end of September, but we can typically harvest through much of October to try to top that off. The longer range climate forecast is still for a strong El Nino climate event, which for us means typically cooler and wetter winter months. It depends on where that river of moisture sets up. If it's over us, it will be a very soggy late winter and early spring. If it's north or south, hopefully we'll get average rainfall, which will help us to perhaps store a little more water for the coming season.
Yes, Commissioner, to give you a little context, we are putting 17 in the reservoir today, and that's the first time since the last October. There's 47 available from the river, but when we're up and running, and we expect hopefully real soon, we usually push more than 200 into the reservoir. So just to give you a comparison, we're very happy about getting some water, but we can do 205 probably is one of our bigger days. So I'm hoping to get up to 200 a day going forward, and we have a new permit limit that's almost double from the past. So we think that's going to be a big help to getting full once the rains start by October-ish.
People should be watching between Lithia and Polk County. That's really where you need it.
That's where we need it for that river.
Okay.
New Tampa to Zephyr Hills for the Hillsborough.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Wastel.
Thank you. First, I would say that this highlights the importance of us continuing to research a secondary reservoir, so that I know that this is one of the worst droughts that we've had in a very long time, but I think that this would help prevent us from having to thread the needle. I was talking to my staff in development services, and I asked, in these situations, this is the first drought that I've experienced while I'm legislating, do we restrict certificates of occupancy to new users on our water supply? And the response that I received was that no, there is currently no mechanism in Hillsborough County. Are you aware of any other jurisdictions, even in the Tampa Bay water area or throughout the state, where when we're experiencing severe drought that we restrict new certificates of occupancy towards new users on our water supply?
I'm not aware of that. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but I'm not aware of it in our area or other places.
Wouldn't that make sense, though? Is that's something that we at least look at as a possible scenario, that if we're already restrained, that we don't add new users onto it? I know that, a small amount of users isn't what caused the drought to happen, but wouldn't that seem to be common sense that that's a practice?
It is a tool that could be used by a local jurisdiction. It could help curtail water use from growing. As developments come in, even before a certificate of occupancy is issued for a residence, the builder may have already installed the landscape. And with new sod, they would likely water every day for 15 to 30 days. So whether there's a certificate of occupancy or not, that landscape may be there and using the water.
Good point.
So It's a difficult time and question, but certainly any technique would be good for discussion.
Okay, thank you for the information.
Commissioner Eggers.
Yeah, just following up on the desal comment, we have expansion capability there still, I think. When you were talking about taking the water off the river, we're using some of it. We can't send it to the reservoir. We have to pass some through our surface water plant. With that extra water coming in, could we then divert more to the reservoir from the river? I'm just trying to balance all of our different.
It's all being used for the region. We're still, 30 is about the minimum that we can run out of the surface water treatment plant, or we have to take it offline completely. So the 12.8 from desal is coming up to blend with that 30, but it is being consumed through the rest of the region, everywhere from the South Hillsborough service area around to the St. Pete beaches. It becomes part of that regional mix. We are currently working to install the 6th and 7th racks, which should give us additional water once those are complete, to give us the best flexibility in our system for the next dry season.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cohen.
I just wanted to comment on Commissioner Wustle's remarks because I think it was right before you were on the board, but it was the catalyst for the events that led to the South County Pipeline project. Was people in South Hillsborough County were complaining because they would turn on their shower and it would be, no water would be coming out, or just drips would be coming out. And while I don't think it was a moratorium on COs, there was a period where Hillsborough County did hold up the building permits because of the water shortage in South County, and it was only after the interim measures were taken by Tampa Bay Water and Hillsborough County that sort of bumped up the supply that they relaxed that. But there was like a 9 to 12 month period where things in everything south of Big Bend Road sort of came to a halt because of that actual supply issue. So for what it's worth.
And just on that, this is a question that has been coming up, and I've mentioned this to Chuck, and I know we're having discussions at our city, data centers. And I'm just curious, a lot of people are not familiar with what's happening, what's the regulation, who are the bodies that are regulating this, whether it's large or smaller data centers. And I just was wondering, in terms of SwiftMud and their role, maybe you could just give us, and I know I'm putting you on the spot. If you can't, that's fine. But if you can just give us something in terms of what's happening with that, because it goes again in terms of data, in terms of water supply. And I'm getting residents, oh, okay, well, you're putting restrictions on us, and what, they're building data centers. And so that is kind of a concern that I'm hearing.
The Water Management District did put a policy in place about probably less than a year ago. I think it was late 2025, that said any data center must come before the board as a permit. If it's served through a municipality, they will review that municipality's water use permit. And if data center was not already permitted as a part of it, they will have to go through a justification as a city or county that holds a water use permit. And the district has the right to open that back up and make modifications to allow it or disallow it, or put more restrictions on it. So the Water Management District is taking a very close look at every data center that needs water in our area, potable water, making sure that it doesn't impact the environment or the existing drinking water systems.
Great. Okay, thank you. Mr. Eggers, are you?
I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Warren. I'm going to finish up. I wanted to announce that Hillsborough County has hired a new Water Resources Director. His name is Chris Jones. I don't know if he's in the audience today, but I want to welcome Chris. He has been on a few meetings with us, and he's met some of the other staffs of the member governments. Did want to give an update real quick on the East Pasco Wellfield feasibility study. The last board meeting we held, there was an item approved to allow additional drilling for the test well, going to up to 3,000 feet. And so I believe we finally are there at 2,850 feet. And so the work can be completed on the well, and then they will be doing a modeling test, a water withdrawal test, to see if there's any, what the yield is for a potential new well field at East Pasco. Legislatively, we did secure $500,000 in state funding for a SCADA project that we had, so that was great news. And also on a federal level, the Water Resources Development Act, we've been released from the committee, and it includes a $100 million authorization for water projects within the Tampa Bay region. And in addition to that, there's 3 community project funding requests still out there. $700,000 for the surface water treatment plant expansion, $756,000 for the South Hillsborough Wellfield project, and an additional $700,000 for the South Hillsborough Wellfield. So about $1.5 million for that one project. Collectively, all 3 of those projects are about $2.1 million. Tampa Bay Water's procurement team has been awarded the 2026 Achievement of Excellence in Procurement Award from the National Procurement Institute. That's the 2nd consecutive year they've won that, so congratulations, Christina and your staff. Speaking of the procurement team, they did participate in a reverse trade show, so that's where the event allows our staff to engage directly with businesses, helping the vendors understand how to do business with Tampa Bay Water. We also participated at the Keep Pinellas Beautiful's High School Environmental Leadership Workshop, and so Warren was there along with our Continuous Improvement Director, Shane Johnson, and they were evaluators for the workshop. I believe we also had one of our hydrogeologists, Aaron Hayes, there to explain how the aquifers work using our edible aquifer project. And Warren's been pretty busy. He's here at the Forest Hills Neighborhood Association meeting along with the City of Tampa's Water Director, Rory Jones. And so they participated in a meeting explaining some of the things we're doing here and helping the citizens out. And again, Warren was at the Carewood HOA meeting. They were wanting to talk to us about their water levels in Lake Carroll. This is some photos of our grant dollars at work. We were educating students in Tampa Bay through the Water Conservation Protection Grant. These students were paddled through the local waterways during Tampa Bay Waterkeeper's Colors of the Bay kayak tour series. And through our Water Conservation and Protection Grant as well, the Girl Scouts of West Central Florida have water conservation and education activities worked into their summer camp curriculum. And I think the middle picture is a picture of the edible aquifer. It was a very big hit with everybody, so. That's all I have. I'd be happy to take any additional questions.
Well, Warren and Chuck, thank you for that update. And to our legislative team, thank you for all your hard work and getting some more dollars to make our projects happen. Every dollar helps, just like every drop of water helps. So thank you. Commissioner Eggers.
Yeah, I was going to say that about the legislative team, so thank you for that. The other thing is I just wanted to put an exclamation mark on Commissioner Wastel's comment about, the investigation of our second reservoir, and maybe just the kind of lay a groundwork for some of that conversation, just high level, kind of targeting areas and working with our different members and start to really hone in on what that really means as far as the needs, the land needs, the infrastructure needs, the dollar needs, all of that. But I just think that needs to be wherever it is in our system needs to be kind of punctuated a little bit. Thank you.
Yeah, there's currently 3 projects in our feasibility study that I believe will be in front of the board probably by next year, mid-next year. So there's 3 reservoir projects, including a surface water treatment plant next to them. That is at the current site, so there would be an additional siting of a smaller reservoir next to the existing one. Then off of Lake Tarpon, we're looking at taking some water off Lake Tarpon and putting it in a reservoir. And also down near the border with Manatee County off the Little Manatee River, we're also looking at an area there to put one as well. So it is an extraordinary project, the one we have now, except it is needing Mother Nature to help it sometimes. And so an additional one, I agree, would be a big help for our system.
Thank you. Well, we've deferred item C1, and so the next item up is C2, and that is going to be presented by Maribel Medina from our Planning and Projects Director. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. Agenda item C2 is an action item requesting your approval for the South Hillsborough Wellfield Land Exchange and Easements Agreement with Hillsborough County. I will begin with a brief overview of the agreement and the requested board actions. The South Hillsborough Wellfield is a new regional water supply project which was approved by you last October. At full build-out, the wellfield will include 8 production wells with 1 well already constructed. The site has demonstrated excellent groundwater quality, requiring only ozone treatment for hydrogen sulfide removal. The project will also include about 4 miles of collector main, a connection to Hillsborough County's water supply system, and associated metering facilities. Once completed, the wellfield is expected to provide an important new source of regional water supply. This map shows the South Hillsborough Wellfield site in the Balm area of southern Hillsborough County. The western portion is located within the Stacy R. White Nature Preserve, where wells 1 through 4 will be constructed. Well 5 is our existing well, which is shown in the upper left portion of the map. The eastern portion is located in Hillsborough County's water resources property and will include wells 6 through 8 and the water treatment facilities. These facilities will be co-located with Hillsborough County's future drinking water facilities and adjacent to the Balm point of connection for the South Hillsborough Pipeline project. Today's request pertains to the western side for wells 1 through 4 and associated collector main and access easements. Construction of this wellfield requires property rights from multiple stakeholders. This slide provides an overview of those property interests required for this project. We will request approval for additional property rights next year. The agreement presented to you today exchanges Tampa Bay Water's water supply development rights at the former Cone Ranch property, which is now known as the Lower Green Swamp Preserve, for about 5 acres of easements needed within the Stacy R. White Nature Preserve. The map shows the Lower Green Swamp Preserve in northeastern Hillsborough County. This exchange both supports long-term conservation of the preserve and provides the property rights needed for this new wellfield. In this slide, you can see the property rights included in the interlocal agreement before you today. Tampa Bay Water will receive about 5 acres of easements within the Stacy R. White Nature Preserve at no cost as part of the land exchange. We will also acquire about 4.7 acres of easements within the Water Resources Utility Corridor, which is shown in pink, to support the collector main, access to the well sites, and monitoring facilities. The cost for those utility corridor easements and associated closing costs is about $66,000. Together, these property rights provide the access to key project infrastructure needed to construct and operate this new wellfield. And with that, staff requests your approval for the South Hillsborough Wellfield Interlocal Agreement with Hillsborough County, Hillsborough County staff is expected to present the agreement to their Board of County Commissioners for approval in August. And the requests at this moment are the items listed in the slide. And Madam Chair, this concludes my brief presentation. I will be happy to address any questions you may have.
Thank you. At this time, I see no requests for speakers. If someone wants to press a motion button to approve it or not. I have a motion by Commissioner Eggers and seconded by Wastel. Clerk, if you can open the machine for voting. Board members, please enter your votes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you so much, Clerk. Okay. Thank you, Maribel. Next up, we have C3, and this is going to be presented by Christina Sackett, our Chief Financial Officer. Good morning, Christina.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. Agenda item C3 is requesting approval of the supplemental bond resolution 2026-002. As I mentioned in April and in May, the agency needs to issue new debt for the capital improvement projects in fiscal years 27 and 28. And we are issuing refunding debt on part of the 2016 A bonds. This presentation will provide an overview of the bond issuance and the parameters of the bond resolution. I would like to start off by introducing Jay Glover and Nick Roca with PFM Financial Advisors to present an update on the 2026 A and B financing.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm Nick Roca with PFM Financial Advisors, and we'll be giving you a brief presentation on the upcoming Series 26A and B bonds. First, I want to start out with a graphic detailing the authority's current debt service schedule. A combination of the brown and green bars you can see here represent the annual debt service payments related to the outstanding bonds, with the green bars specifically detailing the Series 2016A bonds that we're looking to refund for savings. All combined, the outstanding bonds result in a maximum annual debt service, also known as MADS, of approximately $82.1 million, and that occurs there in fiscal year 2027. Additionally, we show the $10.2 million of the annual acquisition credits provided to the member governments, and those go on through fiscal year 2028. With the 2026A bonds, we're looking to fund $292 million of the authority's capital improvement plan with these debt proceeds. Due to the authority's current debt service payment structure, we believe it is beneficial to wrap the new 2026A bonds debt service around the existing debt, and this will help minimize the annual debt service, which directly impacts the uniform rate. The 2026A bonds will be structured over an approximately 30-year term, utilize capitalized interest to cover the first year of interest payments, and is expected to make use of a surety to cover the related increase in the debt service reserve fund requirement instead of placing just cash in there. The 2026B bonds will be issued to refund the outstanding 2016A bonds, which are eligible to be refinanced starting on October 1st, 2026. And the 2026B bonds will feature the same maturity date of the refunded bonds, so there will be no extension of that debt. And they'll also be structured to result in debt service savings each year through fiscal year 2038. The 2026A bonds will partially fund 29 different projects of the authority's capital improvement plan, including the South Hillsborough Wellfield, surface water treatment plant water quality improvements, supervisory control and data acquisition system upgrades related to the surface water treatment plant, water quality improvements for the Elridge Wild Wellfield, and improvements to the Cypress Creek Wellfield. The 2016A bonds will have $72,080,000 of principal maturing in fiscal years 2033 through 2038. And of that, those are eligible to be refunded prior to maturity without any penalty, and are expected to result in significant positive savings for Tampa Bay Water. At current market rates, we anticipate the refunding to produce approximately $7.8 million in net present value savings. Due to the low coupon rate on the fiscal year 2039 maturity of the 2016A bonds, it is not anticipated right now in the current market environment to produce any savings if it were refunded. So we expect to leave that one maturity of the 2016A bonds outstanding, but we are looking to refund the vast majority of that financing. And the table on the right details the principal amounts of the 2016A bonds maturing each year that we're looking to refund. And we anticipate the refunding will result in debt service savings each year, ranging from, right now we're expecting about $195,000 to occur in kind of that first year, that short year, fiscal year 2027, up to almost $2.5 million in fiscal year 2038. Then here on slide 6, we show the estimated aggregate annual debt service of the authority following the issuance of both these series, 26A and B bonds. And here, the brown bars, once again, that represents the outstanding bonds, less the 2016A bonds we highlighted on the earlier slide, since those will be refunded through, as I mentioned previously, through fiscal year 2038. And then the green bars on this one, that shows the debt service resulting from the 2026B bonds that will be refunding those 2016A bonds. And the orange bars there at the top, those show the impact from the 2026A bonds that will be funding the $292 million of additional capital improvements. So the net result of all this is an increase in the maximum annual debt service to approximately $90.3 million in fiscal years 2029 through 2032. That's roughly $8.2 million increase. We have also added a red dotted line to this graph, and that represents the current debt profile compared to our projections after the issuance of the 2026 A and B bonds, so you can kind of see a comparison there. And you might notice kind of there's a little gap there between the red dotted line and the green bars, and that's essentially the savings you're getting there from that refunding. So it looks kind of small on this graph, but it's quite significant. On our final slide here, we just lay out the preliminary financing schedule for the upcoming issuance. Today, we are requesting the Tampa Bay Water Board of Directors to approve the bond resolution allowing the issuance of the 2026 bonds based on certain parameters, which will be further detailed by bond counsel following my presentation. During the week of August 3rd, we currently expect to price the 2026 bonds. And if priced during that first week in August, we expect to close the financing on August 27th. And then we just highlight here, October 1st, that's the first allowed call date of the 2016A bond. So this is when they'll actually be refunded and redeemed. This concludes my portion of the presentation, and I'll pass it back to Christina at this time.
Thank you, Nick. With that, I would like to introduce Michael Brochart with our bond counsel, neighbors Giblin and Nickerson, and he will go over the parameters of the bond resolution.
Morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. I'm Mike Brochart from Neighbors Giblin Nickerson. We serve as the authority's bond counsel. So before you today, we have Resolution 2026-002, and what this resolution will do, it is establish the maximum principal amounts of each series of bonds, which I'll discuss in the next couple slides. It'll set the purpose of the issuance. It'll authorize a negotiated sale of these bonds by a series of underwriters selected pursuant to this resolution. It'll set out the financial parameters of the bonds, which again I'll talk about on the next couple slides. It'll give some delegation authority to the general manager to allow for the sale of the bonds on the day that we enter into the bond purchase contract. It approves the form of the purchase contract and the escrow deposit agreement related to the bonds, as well as the preliminary official statement and the official statement for the bonds. It'll establish a 2026 construction fund, which is a bit of a technical requirement under the authority's master bond resolution. It'll set out how the bond proceeds are to be allocated, and it will allow for the purchase of a surety bond for should the underwriting team and staff and financial advisor decide that appropriate at the time of sale. So for the first series of bonds, the new money bonds, the Series 2026A, the resolution will set out the following financial parameters. The bonds will not be issued in a par amount greater than $325 million. These bonds will be for issuing the capital, or for financing the capital projects discussed previously. The resolution sets a true interest cost of not more than 5.5% and an underwriting discount not to exceed 0.4% of the par value. A final maturity date no later than 10/1/2056, and a first call date no later than 10/1/2036. The second series of bonds, the refunding bonds previously discussed, will have the following financial parameters pursuant to the resolution. They won't be issued in a maximum par amount of more than $100 million. They'll be to refinance all or portion of the Series 2016A bonds. They'll have a true interest cost of not more than 4.5% and an underwriting discount not to exceed 0.4% of the par value. Also, the present value savings of the refunding will need to be equal to at least 3% of the par amount of the Series 2016A bonds that are being refunded. And again, the final maturity date will be no later than 10/1/2038, and the first call date will be no later than 10/1/2036. So with that, we ask that you approve Resolution 2026-00-2, which will authorize the issuance of the Revenue Bond Series 2026A and the Refunding Bond Series 2026B pursuant to the parameters set forth in such resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Board, I don't see any speakers requesting. Oh, Commissioner Eggers.
Yeah, because I'm not remembering all of the things that we've financed and refinanced and refinanced. I'm wanting to make sure I understand the picture that's on page 6 that shows the new debt load that we have here.
This one?
Yeah. What's included in that? Is of all the major projects that are going on, what's in that number? Because I'm seeing, obviously, our responsibilities going up significantly over the years above the red dotted line.
Yeah, what has caused the increase in the past few years, largely since 2024, was the South Hillsborough pipeline. I mean, that's a $500 million project in and of itself. The expansion of the surface water treatment plant, which is close to $200 million. The new fundings that we're doing right now will include the South Hillsborough Wellfield, which is about, I think, 160, and then it also includes the design phase for the PFAS treatment projects, which is another $35 million for those. Those are the large projects, and then there's the board did approve coming up, but that would be in future bonds, potentially the construction of the PFAS projects and the the design and construction of the water quality. But right now, this includes just the design for the PFAS projects.
Okay, but it does include all the major projects that you just mentioned. And obviously things that we talked about today when I used the exclamation point on the expansion looks for a reservoir, that's a whole different set of
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, well, I think this is, it's important, obviously. We started talking about having sources of funds that, I guess, I'm just thinking about the next phase, if you will, of expansion here and what it's going to result in, additional funding, whether it's this desal plant or other items. So just keeping a close eye on all of that is going to be really important for us to kind of keep our arms around it, I guess, more than anything. Thank you.
And based on Commissioner Eggers' comments, and maybe you can comment, obviously we have increased debt service and there's future projects later on. And maybe Nick or Jay, you guys can talk about credit rating and where we are in terms of our debt load and the agency itself.
Madam Chair, board members, Jay Glover, also with PFM Financial Advisors. Obviously a great question. I mean, Part of the credit quality of Tampa Bay Water is because each of you member governments have very strong credit ratings, the majority of them in the AAA, AA plus range. So, and as you know, most of the fees paid to Tampa Bay Water are operating expenses of each of your member governments. So all of that results in a very strong credit rating that Tampa Bay Water has. We have actually heard that one of the ratings has been affirmed already. We're working on the other one. We hope to have both of those ratings, probably in the next day or two. But again, we do look at credit ratings as any part of a financing discussion and how we structure the debt. And I think the rating agency is very comfortable with your debt structure. You also maintain significant liquidity. We fund that debt service reserve fund that was mentioned. So all these things are done to make sure you maintain the credit ratings, which obviously lowers the borrowing cost, and with significant CIP needs and significant debt funding, really minimizes the impact on the rate as we move forward. So those are all discussions we're having with your general manager and your CFO as we go through this financing process.
Great. Well, thank you, Jay. Based on that, any other questions? Chuck, if you can provide that information once you get it from Jay to the board, that would be fantastic. With that, if there is a motion and a second on this, I have a motion by Commissioner Wassall, a second by Commissioner Cohen. Clerk, if you can open the machine for voting. Board members, please enter your votes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Mike, Jay, and Nick, for being here with us and joining us today. And Christina, thank you so much for your work on this too. Okay. Next up, we have D1. We get to the presentations and reports phase of our agenda. We have a member government report from the city of Newport Richey, and we have Colin Eichenmueller.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good morning.
Morning, Madam Chair, board members. So this morning, we're going to do a brief rundown of the City of Newport Richey Public Works utilities for an update from our member of government. I am Colin Eichenmueller, the Public Works Director for the City of Newport Richey. I want to run through today, we're going to look over our potable water system, our sanitary sewer system as it pertains to our reclaimed water system, and how that bolsters our distribution, and our current and future utility projects. Our potable water system overview, our main source is the Starkey well field for the 8 million gallons daily for sustainable flow. We have our Maidum water treatment plant, which averages 5.6 MGD per day, and 3.63 of that goes to our city customers and is also distributed through the city of Port Richey, and then 1.97 MGD to the regional system that's pushed back through our Tampa Bay water connection. We have 154.87 miles of potable water mains, and that's 17,975 active service connections. We're currently seeing an increase in those connections with the development of the Newport Corners District, and that will be an additional 331 connections, which is arriving at completion now. So those are going in as we speak. To go over our sanitary sewer system, and again, this is as it pertains to the production of reclaimed water. Our wastewater treatment plant averages about 5.5 MGD. We have a total of 76 lift stations, 29.82 miles of sanitary force mains, 87.46 miles of gravity sewer lines, and it's just shy of 15,000 connections. With again, our current increase is of 331 connections, and that will be with that Newport Corners development. Our reclamation facility, again, is housed there at our wastewater treatment plant, and it averages about 5 to 5.5 million gallons of reclaim per day. That's 21 miles of reclaimed transmission lines and 17.5 miles of reclaimed distribution lines with 516 service connections. The Newport Corners district there is going to be master metered. That was installed in September of 2025, and so they're currently up and running. To go over some of our current utility projects with the City of Newport Richey, we have our West Grand neighborhood. That project was out to bid, has been awarded, and will be kicking off here shortly. And that will be updating some of our utility lines, 6-inch, 8-inch, and increasing our fire protection in those areas. We have our potable and reclaim extensions, something that we wanted to really look at in the upcoming years, and we've been going over this current year, is a needs assessment on our reclaim production and distribution to better disperse throughout the rest of the city of Newport Richey, and see, because of the water conservation efforts, kind of review with our city members and our residents what they are looking for as far as reclaim, and if there's an increase in demand for that. We have our smart meter replacement project. This year we completed the 1.5" and 2" meters. We'll be going into the 3" and 4" meters in the future years as well. And then we completed our Pasco County interconnect upgrades. We have our sewer utility system improvement. That'll be conducting, that's out for design right now, and we'll be going out to bid sometime in 26, 27. The sewer extension projects, those are kind of our continuous efforts to ensure that as we expand our utility, we do it in a way that is intelligent, and we aim for the septic to sewer conversions. We have our manhole lining project, which is closing out this year, and we're also going to be looking at conducting a water loss audit. We've engaged with a few different disciplines to take a look at that, to see where we can better utilize our efforts in identifying not only where our water loss is, but essentially where there might be a connection that might be unknown or something to that degree. We really want to hone in on that and make sure that what we're sending out of our plant is at our best efficacy. So looking forward, our upcoming projects would be the high service pump at our elevated storage tank. Again, looking to expand our reclaim system throughout the city of Newport Richey and further. Our Town and Country Leisure Lane sewer extension, again, that would be focused on the septic to sewer conversion out there. We will continue to update our potable water within our district, and the water utility system improvements as well. The sewer utility improvements, we do those are a part of our annual rotation. So we'll do our water project one year, we'll do our sewer projects the following year. So we're always out to design and always looking to upgrade our system. And again, our sewer main and manhole lining project. Some key projects that I really wanted to focus in on would be at our wastewater treatment plant. Again, this is really to focus in on our reclaim production as it pertains to both water conservation efforts and just providing those services to our residents and our utility customers. So the Schreiber tank conversion, the Schreiber tank is a clarifier aerator all in one unit. It's a heavily maintenance required unit, and as such, we have chosen to look into converting that into just a direct aerator that would help with our nitrogen reduction, reduce our total maintenance, and is expected to take about 12 to 18 months in total. Currently, our wastewater treatment plant is due for an upgrade and some refurbishment. It's hit that lifespan on most of its mechanisms as far as the aerations go. So right now we're conducting our aeration tank seals and coating. Those will be conducted every 2 years for our 4 aerators. And then we'll have our clarifier gearbox replacement projects as well. That concludes this presentation. I appreciate your time, and I'm here for any questions.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I'm curious, in terms of your reclaimed water system, you said you have a future utility project, right, an extension. Is that for to reach more customers? And if so, what are you looking at in terms of extending the size of it? You have 21.7 miles at this point, so how much more are you looking to expand?
So to answer the first question, what we would like to do is really, we've done this in the past, and we kind of looked at a needs assessment, looked over what our residents were looking for and what our utility customers were looking for, and if there was a need there, if there was a desire to have a distribution line in that area. So that's what we're looking at first, and that would drive that expansion. So if we see that there's a demand for it in certain areas, in certain neighborhoods, then it would be looking at those identified neighborhoods and saying, okay, we still haven't expanded into this. We haven't put a distribution main down that particular street or within that district. So let's go ahead and start moving forward with that, and that would be a part of that design element. So it's first identifying where our highest needs are, where folks really want it, and then going out to design on that specific area.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I don't see any requests to speak. Well, thank you so much for your presentation and for letting us know what's happening in the city of Newport Richey.
Thank you.
Next item up is D2, and this is going to be presented by Eliana Lara, our Senior Professional Engineer. Good morning, Eliana.
Good morning. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. As you mentioned, my name is Eliana Lara. I'm your Senior Professional Engineer and Project Manager at Tampa Bay Water, presenting Agenda Item D2. This is a presentation for the 2045 System Hydraulic and Emergency Scenario Analysis. No action is required from the board at this time. The purpose of this presentation is to outline the key findings and recommendations based on the analysis of the regional system's performance through the year 2045 by confirming hydraulic capacity and ability to meet future member government demands, identifying reliability and resiliency improvements, and addressing emergency hydraulic and power outages services scenarios. In collaboration with our 6 member governments, we aim to prioritize these improvement recommendations to support long-term capital planning, investment decisions, and routine operations and emergency events, considering efficiency and cost. The Tampa Bay Water completes a comprehensive evaluation of its regional water transmission system every 10 years to proactively identify system capacity and reliability improvements needed over a 20-year planning horizon. The 2045 analysis is the 3rd iteration of this report. We started this with the 2035 analysis and updated it with input from each member government. We also had a lot of meetings with the utilities directors, their engineers, water plant operators, maintenance, you name it, all the key players. As a matter of fact, I see a couple here present today. Thank you for attending. They collaborated, reviewed, and approved the report we're presenting to you today. In 5 years, we will be verifying that the projections are in line, and in 10 years, the next full 2055 analysis. In this analysis, hydraulic capacity, reliability, and resilience were considered. The analysis incorporated member government demand projections growth through 2045 and confirmed the need for targeted transmission system improvements. Our consultants utilized software models to simulate historical data and what-if scenarios, identifying bottlenecks and key challenges in the system. The models also identified 8 new hydraulic capacity improvement concepts to help mitigate system constraints that would otherwise pose challenges in meeting demand during drought years. Of the 8 system capacity, reliability, and resilience improvement concepts, the analysis recommends implementation of the Cypress Creek repump mode to provide energy efficiency in the system, upgrading booster pumps and motors at the Morris Bridge Pump Station, and adding pumps at the Lake Bridge Booster Pump Station. The construction of a potential Pinellas Booster Pump Station, parallel transmission mains, loops, and all other lower value alternative concepts are recommended to be deferred. The good news is that the agency has already begun identifying projects for the implementation within the Capital Improvements Program. In addition to the hydraulic capacity, reliability, and resilience, we also consider unexpected hydraulic emergencies such as pipe breaks or facility outages. This part of the assessment addresses critical hydraulic challenges and provides recommendations to ensure a reliable and resilient system. As shown on the figure to the right, over 20 emergency scenarios were analyzed. Of these, 8 outages were identified as critical emergencies that could prevent Tampa Bay Water from supplying water or the member governments from receiving it. The hydraulic emergency assessment recommends taking proactive steps to address these scenarios by developing emergency operating procedures and memorandum of understandings so that Tampa Bay Water can rely on the abilities and functionalities of the member government's systems. Lastly, it recommends improved system interconnections with member governments. Finally, the analysis considers as well unforeseen power outages, providing recommendations to ensure a reliable and resilient system. Though the agency is required to meet the annual daily demand with backup power, the analysis showed a deficit for the year 2045. Lessons learned from recent hurricane seasons also help identify additional backup power gaps in the system. Based on the power outage emergency assessment, the recommended improvements are remote access, monitoring and control of backup power systems, increased generator capacity at key facilities, change of generator ownership and operation, and enhanced coordination with electric utility providers. One more time, the good news is that the agency has begun identifying projects for implementation within our capital improvements programs. So, with all that said, here's a quick summary of the recommendations discussed. It will be crucial to monitor member demands to ensure a timely implementation of solutions. Therefore, in 5 years, we will be verifying that the projections are in line, and in 10 years, the next full 2055 analysis. And this concludes my presentation. I will be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ileana. Commissioner Wastel.
Thank you. Could you pull back up slide 5 real quick?
Sure.
That recommendation from Morris Bridge down to Cosme, is that recommendation, that's not an existing line, right? They're recommending a full new line?
So this is part of the low-value alternative concepts that were recommended to be deferred. When you're talking about loops, parallel pipes, transmission mains. So it does not exist. But we did take a look at if it would be a benefit.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. I see no more questions. Okay. Thank you so much, Ileana, for the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, we have D3, and this will be presented by Danielle Kersey, the Senior Project Manager. Hi.
Morning.
Good morning.
Madam Chairs and members of the board, agenda item D3 provides a construction status update on the South Hillsborough Pipeline and surface water treatment plant expansion projects. First up is the South Hillsborough Pipeline. The map shown illustrates the 26-mile pipeline route from Brandon to Lithia and Baum. This pipeline is designed to deliver up to 65 million gallons per day of water, and it includes 17 tunneling locations, which are represented by the orange diamonds on the screen. These tunneling locations are strategically planned to minimize traffic disruptions and reduce environmental impacts during construction. The diamonds circled in red show where tunneling work has already been completed. In addition to the pipeline, the project also includes the construction of a new alkalinity adjustment facility, as well as key points of connection with Hillsborough County. Here's another look at the route showing all locations where crews are currently working. As you can see, the contractor is very busy. Crews are now working at 11 different locations on microtunnels, horizontal directional drill, and open trench construction. This accounts for 90% of the pipeline construction. And we're happy to report that this weekend, the 48-inch HDP pipe was successfully pulled into the tunnel shaft beneath Little Fishhawk Creek. What you see on the screen is them preparing. In addition to our active locations, crews are preparing additional work zones by installing maintenance of traffic controls, trimming trees, and implementing erosion control measures. As you can imagine, when we're working in so many locations at once, we do have to coordinate with many other utilities. We meet monthly as a team to go over construction progress and discuss the upcoming schedule. Hillsborough County and the district regularly attend those meetings as well. The project team also regularly meets and coordinates with other utility providers such as TECO, Spectrum, Frontier, and more. We did recently host a week-long utility coordination meeting block where we offered to meet with individual utilities at their convenience throughout the week. We also work hard to keep residents and businesses informed with frequent construction and detour updates. As you can see on this slide, we use a variety of tools to reach residents, including direct mail, email updates, social media, and HOA meetings, and more. And residents and businesses can reach us on the project hotline and email. Our public engagement team is also coordinating with key stakeholders on a regular basis. We have ongoing communications with Hillsborough County Public Schools, Transportation, and Administration departments anytime a new traffic plan is put in place. And we meet regularly with individual schools before and during active construction activities near those facilities. We also maintain two-way communications with Hillsborough County Transport Authority and Fire Rescue to ensure continued coordination throughout. Overall, this project is progressing well and remains on track. Construction is about 5% complete based on linear feet of pipe installed, and spending is aligned at 20% of the total $478.4 million construction budget. At this stage, no corrective actions for budget and schedule are required, and the project is performing as expected. Now for an update on the surface water treatment plant expansion project. This project expands the existing surface water treatment plant capacity by up to 12.5 million gallons per day. It includes a fifth train along with supporting systems, which are labeled A through E on the screen. The new treatment train will mirror the existing treatment processes currently in operation. Area A represents the fifth train. Area B shows the belt filter press replacement. Area C identifies the location of 3 new filters. Area D shows the location of chemical buildings, and Area E includes the expanded solids drying beds. In Area A, crews have finished utility relocations and the installation of a new 24-inch return pipe under the north access road, which is shown at the top of the screen, along with ground reinforcement work. The excavation of the 24-inch recycled return piping, as pictured at the bottom of the screen, is in progress. 3 of the belt filter presses have been delivered and set at the site. The crew also completed forming the pedestals for belt filter presses 5 through 7, along with the concrete encasement of the 10-inch drain line. In areas C and D, crews have completed installation of the 48-inch ductile iron pipe at filters 16 through 18, as well as the encasement of the T's and piping. The installation of the 54-inch waste backwasher piping is also complete. Overall, the surface water treatment plant expansion project is progressing well and remains on track. Construction is currently at 6% complete, and spending is aligned at 17% of the total $167 million budget. As construction activities increase, our continued focus will be on maintaining alignment between progress, spending, and schedule performance. At this stage, no corrective actions for budget and schedule are required, and the project is performing as expected. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
I see no request for speakers this time. Commissioner Eggers.
Yeah, thank you. These 2 projects, obviously, much needed and very excited to kind of follow. How are we monitoring complaints from residents? I'm sure we're going to get them from businesses and residents. And how are we? Oh, no, thank you. You don't need to answer. I guess Wastel's getting all the...
We're getting plenty in my office, too.
Okay.
Hi, good morning. I'm Michelle Robinson with Dialogue Public Relations. We are tracking everything in a stakeholder database called Simply Stakeholders. So right now we have thousands of stakeholders in there. Anytime someone calls, it's logged and followed up on, and we can track it on a daily basis.
So all of his complaints are kind of filtering through that system too?
They get to us eventually. Sometimes they're an email from Katrine or from Michelle, but they do get to us, and we log it. We respond to everyone. We try to do it the same day. Sometimes it might take 24 or 48 hours to chase down the answer and respond.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Wastel.
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just one other comment. So one of the thoughts that I was thinking about earlier when we were talking about the 8 well fields, and that's not for you, I'm sorry, was more about, you know, how do we minimize the cost going forward? And I know this probably goes to somebody else. I'm sorry if I'm hitting the wrong person, but the importance of those 8 well fields, the importance of additional credits that we're getting in the area, I know we're hoping for the 23 water supply project being non-existent. At least that's my hope and prayer, because of the amount of cost that we're bearing on all of this other stuff going forward. So just a comment maybe on that water supply accumulation that we're kind of doing along the way instead of a 2033 water supply project.
Maribel, Warren's probably he's been our designee. I describe him with a basket, and he walks around and collects water permits.
No, it's true. It's been great.
So he's used to that. Well,
I'm going to requisition a bigger bucket. We have acquired about 3.72 million gallons a day, transfer them to what will be the South Hillsborough well field. We plan to bring another 2 acquisitions and transfer 3 permits. Probably we'll have that to the October board meeting for approval. That should hopefully take us above 4. And we are still actively talking with property owners in South Hillsborough to see if there's other quantities that we can acquire as those properties transition from agriculture to either residence or industrial uses. We believe there's more, and we'll continue to squeeze every rock to get all that we can.
So he's just described Hillsborough County. He's also met with the Pasco County staff.
Mm-hmm.
They've identified potential, and so he's going to be working the Pasco County areas. In addition, we have a feasibility study of increasing to 90 million gallons a day, and that should be ready by next year. So we are working very hard on that end, as you suggest, Commissioner.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Warren. And one last question. On the 6% and 17%, I'm assuming that's a lot of prepaid stuff that they're buying ahead of time. Is that kind of the idea why we're so far ahead on the cost expenditure versus the?
Yes, we did do early procurement of materials and equipment.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. On budget, everything's no problems. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Wastel.
Thank you. I wasn't cued, but Simply Stakeholder, what is it called?
Oh, the systems?
Hi, it's Simply Stakeholders. It's a kind of like a contact management application. And so we've got every person who's ever emailed us or phoned us in that system. We're able to track tasks within it. So if somebody says we would like business signage, for example, that task is put in there. It's assigned to a person. They've been given a date, and we check it multiple times a day to make sure that we're keeping up with inquiries and tasks and complaints. Complaints get logged in there as well.
And you said you call the complaint people, even if you don't have an answer, you at least contact them?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I don't know if I missed the memo on this organization, but all 7 Hillsborough County commissioners need this info to forward the emails that we're getting for complaints to this, just so that we're not using the general manager as a customer support agent. And I know that I get a lot. So, so I don't know if your office had it, Harry, but
we're sending them directly here.
Oh yeah, just all of the commissioners, because they'll click the button that says contact all, and you might get duplicates this way, but because of the way that people can contact us in Sunshine Law, that way we can just forward them straight to her.
So we can provide the project team email. That's where it's all coming, and that's how we track everything.
Okay. Yeah, that would be very helpful to us. Thank you.
Sounds like something very good came out of this for the commissioners over there in Hillsborough. Well, thank you so much for your work on this, Danielle, and for the presentation and the update. And thank you to everyone who's actually working with the stakeholders on this. I know it's a lot of work, but coordination is key. Okay. Commissioner Eggers.
Oh, no, that was
okay.
withdrawal.
Okay. We have no other administrative matters, any old business? I don't see any.
Move to receive and file.
Okay, if we can press the button, there's a motion to receive and file. Mover Dave Eggers and seconder Wastel. Clerk, if you can. Board members, please enter your votes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. I'm just curious, board members, how do you like the system so far? Any suggestions? It's different, but it seems efficient.
So good.
No comment. Sometimes that's good.
That's
Okay.
Rare. That's rare. It's not usually.
Well, thank you, everyone, for a great board meeting. Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.